I'm Trae Zipperer. I've traveled here from Florida to Flemington, New Jersey. This is Hunterdon County, New Jersey. The reason I'm here is because I was contacted by a woman named Ruthie Cass. She responded because she saw me on national television. I was on live with Kelly Ripa and Ryan Seacrest. Of the entire United States and America, only one municipality has ever reached out to me. It's Hunterdon County, New Jersey.
Okay, wow.
And we have a county commissioner here with us today. And what is your name?
Susan Soloway.
Susan Soloway?
Yes.
Susan Soloway. She is the only county commissioner to ever show up at any of my events, ever to respond to any of, to reach out and want to do something about our cause, which is to clean every veteran headstone in America by Memorial Day. It's a growing movement. What I see this as, Hunterdon County, New Jersey is setting the example for every other municipality in the United States of America. I believe others will follow. My videos were viewed 500,000 times when I was on Memorial Day national TV. They're now right about 3 million, so the views are growing, the movement's growing, and eventually we should have every governor on board. Hopefully the President of the United States will get on board with this. The National Cemetery Administration has been helpful. We didn't have a protocol on how to clean these veteran headstones. The way this started was I built my family tree. I found out that my ancestors founded the United States of America, and I was fascinated by the history, and I discovered a website called findagrave.com where you can see where all of your ancestors are buried. And so I thought, well, hey, why not just get in the truck and go visit them? So I did, and I visited all of my ancestors that I could find, and while I was there, I cleaned up around the cemeteries, I cleaned their headstones, and I became familiar with the neglected condition of our cemeteries and our grave sites across America. We're losing them. I started a movement to save historic cemeteries. And I want to let you know that in this cemetery, this is not my selection for the cemetery. I would have picked something that wasn't so well maintained. This cemetery is in great shape. A fantastic fellow I met yesterday, Bill LaRue. He's a third generation, takes care of this cemetery, takes a lot of pride. Yeah. It takes a lot of heart to take care of a cemetery. It takes a special person. And I was telling Bill yesterday, I've only met one other person like him, although there are more, but they're in the shadows. You don't meet these people. When you go to a beautiful cemetery, you don't know who's doing it, but it's somebody like Bill that does it. And I met one man in Georgia, and a little flower that I put at my great-great-great-great-grandmother's grave 2 years before was still there. And it was manicured around the grave, and this worker was there, and I said, hey, this flower's still here. How is it still here? He goes, well, I remove it before I weed eat. And I looked around the cemetery, and there's thousands of headstones with thousands of flowers. And I said, you remove all of these flowers when you weed eat? He says, of course, those are somebody's people. He said, my people are right here, and he pointed to his grandparents, and so he understood that these are hallowed grounds for our country and our people. Started this movement because I discovered some headstones in my town that were veteran headstones. I'm a Navy veteran. My grandfather landed at Normandy. My other grandfather was on his way to Pearl Harbor when the attack happened on December 7th, 41. He was literally en route from California there. Had a third grandfather that was flying the hump over the Himalayan mountains, delivering gasoline to the Chinese in that theater of war. So I have 3 grandfathers that served in World War II. So I recognized what those veteran headstones looked like, and they were covered in black algae, and I thought, that's something I can do. I can get those cleaned. And that's when I discovered the barriers to cleaning veteran headstones that exist in America. And as ludicrous as it might sound, they are very real. That's why we only have one county commissioner in the entire United States of America that has taken the time to address this issue with us. There's one excuse after another. They're all unfounded. There's no excuse. And so I've made it my mission to blaze a trail to every one of these veteran headstones so that a volunteer that wants to participate and honor our veterans with a clean headstone like they deserve, they won't have to put up with the nonsense that I had to put up with at the beginning. And it still exists today. You'll go to a cemetery, ask for permission, and they'll say, no, you can't do that because you're not family. Well, this is Private Ernest E. Flint. He was killed in action, landed at the beaches of Normandy. World War II, you might have heard of Utah Beach. He's killed in action within 2 months in France. His body is in a burial grave on the battlefield for 4 years, waiting to come home. His family's waiting for 4 years. He had no wife. and he had no children, he has no grandchildren, we forget our ancestors in 3 generations. There's nobody to clean Private Flint's headstone. So it's ludicrous to think that you have to be family to clean a veteran's headstone. There's no excuse. Let's break through the barriers. Let's make a federal law that says any volunteer that's willing to follow the protocol issued by the National Cemetery Administration to maintain these stones that remain federal property, that there should be no one that can stand in the way of that if you're following this. There should be no liability. If I go to Kentucky and I want to ride a horse, there is a law posted on a sign outside of that facility that says this is an equestrian facility and you do so at your own risk. There is no liability here. So why don't we have a federal law like that? Why don't we have a state law, a county law, a city law that says anybody wants to do this, if you fall down and hurt yourself in a cemetery, you can't sue the cemetery owner. So this whole risk of liability is ridiculous. So if you're an attorney and you're in America and you are worried about liability, then how about you take your legal skills and write legislation to get rid of that risk, okay? We're here at a specific grave. This is Walter J. Barker. I'll tell you a little bit about Walter J. Barker. He's a local hero here. I don't know if you have a Walter J. Barker Day here in Flemington or Hunterdon County. He was with the 1st Marine of the 1st Marine Division on September the 15th, 1944, when the Marines stormed the beaches of Peleliu. You may never heard of Peleliu, but Peleliu was no less important than Normandy and D-Day. Over 7,000 casualties, over almost 1,500 of our men died storming those beaches, and one of them was your local hero, Walter Barker. This is not the dirtiest headstone that I've cleaned, but I want to ask you folks, is this good enough? Is the condition of this headstone good enough? No. No. So let me tell you a little bit about Peleliu. So at the Battle of Peleliu, it was such intense fighting, it was so desperate. There were 8 medals of honor awarded at Peleliu. 5 of those 8 were Marines that threw themselves on grenades to save their fellow Marines. 5 medals of honor in one battle for 5 American men that killed themselves on top of a grenade. That's what he faced at Peleliu. He didn't come home in 4 years, he came home in 4 years and 4 months. So his body is on the island of Peleliu. But America felt in those days, in the 1940s, that it was important enough that we do whatever it takes to get these men home. They went to every cost necessary to make this happen, and the family was grateful when they came home. I've seen records of ships coming home with 5,900 American men's bodies on them. Almost 6,000 men on one ship, and they get distributed all the way home. An American Legion would have shown up here, and they would have had a 21-gun salute, full military honors. And this is what they look like today. And again, this is not the worst one. This is actually not too bad, but it's not good enough. So I'm going to clean this headstone for you to show you an example of how we do this. And then you can ask some questions. And if you'd like to clean one, we got some cleaning kits that you can clean a headstone here with us today. And I just ask that you tell others about this, what we're doing. And the National Cemetery Administration doesn't even know how many of these markers they've shipped out to America's cemeteries. As a veteran, you have a benefit of a free headstone provided by the government. But if it's not in a national cemetery, there is no system to take care of these. That's the organization I created by Memorial Day, is a way of starting to organize the care, the perpetual care of these headstones. As we look out across the cemetery, which this cemetery doesn't have a lot of above ground stones, but you should see white spots all through the cemetery signaling these are America's heroes, these are veterans. In this cemetery, you have flags everywhere, which is wonderful. So like I said, this is not a cemetery I would have picked out as like, oh, this is really bad shape. This is fantastic. You have a patriotic community. You've got a Purple Heart recipient standing here in the crowd. This man, he bled on the battlefield in combat representing our sovereign country, the United States of America. It's not just those who die that give something when you're in uniform. You may never see combat, but you're willing to give your life for your country. I mean, that's the check you write when you sign up, is you're willing to write a check up to and including your life. It's just a different America that we live in today when you have our National Guard troops placed in parking garages to sleep, you know? This is a reflection of what our country has fallen into, and it's our job to pick that back up and regain our patriotism in America. These are the supplies that we use to clean headstones. It's relatively easy. Again, we now have a protocol from the National Cemetery Administration. This is the secret weapon that we use. It's called D2 biological solution. It's a product that contains an active ingredient known as a quaternary ammonium compound. This is what they clean the headstones at our national cemeteries with. It's not something you're going to buy at your local hardware store. This is something you buy from a distributor. Historic preservationist, if you're going to clean a large building with natural stone on the front, they would order like a 55-gallon drum of this. We never use bleach. We never use pressure washers on these stones. We never use any metal bristles. We never use any mechanical tools. This is not about speed and efficiency. That's another problem we've got in America. It seems like we all want to do everything so fast. This man gave his life for our country, so we could slow down for just a few minutes and honor him and reflect on, you know, what he did for us. And I was standing here with Bill. We walked over to look at it. My phone rang, and it was his granddaughter, which was just moving for me to be hit with a phone call like that. But she was very appreciative of what we're doing. It was short notice they weren't able to make it. This is a secret weapon we use. Water. You wet the stone before we start because these stones are porous. These things aren't impervious to chemicals, so that's why you can't put bleach on there. It'll soak it up. It breaks it down. It destroys the stone. You can touch some of these stones in the cemetery and you'll feel what I'm talking about. They were smooth, polished when they were set, and today it feels like sandpaper because they're eroding. So they are losing their etchings, and we have to be careful to use the right gentle products on them. I wear gloves because there's some nasty stuff comes off of these stones, and just keeps your hands clean. Natural bristle brushes is what we use. This is Tampico bristles made by the agave plant, made from the agave plant. The agave plant doesn't make these. It's a Magnolia Brush from the Magnolia Brush Company, model 179T. I like this one a lot. And this is the same company, same bristles, just a different size. Maybe it fits your hand better. These are natural boar's hair bristle brushes. Again, no plastic bristles. Only man-made bristles you're supposed to use on these are nylon. So this is the only nylon bristle brush I was able to find, and I worked really hard and I only found one, and it's been discontinued. So forget about the man-made bristles. If it looks like it's made out of plastic, don't use it. Get yourself a natural. We have these bench brooms. We call them foxtails in the Navy. We use these to just get the debris off of the stones when you first start, because you get some grass comes on when we're mowing, or leaves will blow on. Sometimes if there's not grass around the outside of the stone, the rain will splatter the dirt up on top. So that's what these, just kind of clean it up before you apply the cleaner. This is a special stone right here. This is his mama. This is a Gold Star mother. I think she gave as much as he gave. And so her headstone, in my opinion, should be cleaned as well. However, it's a private stone. This is not a government furnished headstone. So this is one where we would need permission to clean. He had a new wife, a baby daughter. His wife's name was Sophie, and his daughter's name was Patricia. I think Patricia's still alive, actually. So if you're watching this video, Patricia, America appreciates what your father did, and we understand what you possibly went through during your childhood growing up without a father because of his contribution to America's freedom. Toothbrushes are what we get inside these etchings with. So it's a little more difficult to get these bristles in there, so just simple toothbrushes will work. We don't use any metal scrapers, plastic scrapers, so sometimes you're going to get some growth, like over here, for example. These are lichens. They come right off, as you see, with this wooden scraper. Real simple. It's just a wooden paint stir stick. If you go to any hardware store, they have these with their names on them as part of their advertising. They'll give you a couple. And then when you start working around the grave, sometimes, again, this is a very well-maintained cemetery, but some of them you'll have to do some landscape care around the edges, so you use landscape gloves for those. Careful when you use a trowel. Some of these graves around here, we need to clean the edges of the stone. The grass is encroached a little bit. You don't want to scratch the stone, so be really, really careful. But this is the only metal tool that I use around the stone. If you can find a plastic one, that'd be great. We use some of these little hand shears here, clip some of the vines. You should see some of the headstones I find. You can't even see the headstone. It looks like a bush. You peek inside and there's a veteran's headstone inside there. So you have to get down and trim those off, get them off of their graves. Just a simple pair of scissors. I'll trim the grass around the edge of the stone, manicure it a little bit, because we want to take pictures before and after. So I've created a website called veterangraves.com, and that's where we're going to record every veteran's military story. If you'll volunteer to take ownership of one veteran grave and make sure that they're ready to go for Memorial Day every year, as long as you can do it, then you want to add their grave, research them, tell their story, before, after photos of their grave. And if we all work together, there are probably about 6 million of these out there. There's 330 million Americans. We have plenty of Americans. We just need 1 or 2% to just take one. Then there's the flag. So at this cemetery, you see all these flags. That's a rarity. I'm telling you, very rare to see flags all year long in a cemetery. I use a PVC pipe, 1/2 inch. The holders that they have here are phenomenal, but they're more than 25 cents, and so this is what you can use if you don't have those. 15-inch segment of 1/2 inch PVC pipe, schedule 40. And then a grave flag. These are 8 inches by 12-inch grave flags. This is the standard used at the national cemeteries. Any flag's better than no flag, but this is the standard that they use at our national cemeteries. I use a zip tie. I'll put it around about 5-6 inches up the stick, and that way when you put it down in the PVC pipe, it stands up and it doesn't slide down inside the pipe. Water gets in the pipe, these wooden sticks will rot off, the flag falls over. So the PVC, that's been my answer, is the zip tie. Just a mallet, rubber mallet I carry to put those in as close as I can. Anywhere is okay for a flag, whatever works. If you want to be a stickler, according to the flag code of the United States, they want it to be on the grave, the headstone's right, be on your left as you're looking at it, okay? And then if anybody knows the President of the United States, I've written an amendment to the United States Flag Code that will allow these flags to be displayed at a veteran's grave 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. Sounds, again, ludicrous that we'd have to do that, but the Flag Code mentions nothing about flags displayed at veterans' graves, so everybody has an opinion. And some people have an opinion you can't do this, some people have an opinion you can do this, and we have people taking flags up out of cemeteries because they think it's against the rules. There is no rule, so we need a rule. We need an amendment to the flag code, so that, hopefully the president, and only the president can do that. That's got to go through the president. So right now, President Biden, if you're listening to this, adopt the amendment to the flag code. Not real dangerous doing this, but just in case, if you want to wear safety glasses, that's recommended, advised. So this stone has already been wetted with water from this morning with the rain, so it's soaked up water. And all this is how hard this is. So that's it. Get a little extra there on the cross because it's got quite a bit of build up there. I could just walk away and come back in 6 months. This stone will look perfect because it's within 10 minutes, every living organism on that stone is being killed by the quaternary ammonium compound in this product. But the product is known to not do any damage to natural stone. But I'm going to let it sit there for a few minutes, and then I'm going to scrub it because I like scrubbing them. I like making them, I like the instant gratification versus waiting 6 months, and I may not be back here in 6 months. And I have some water here. We got a couple jugs. It usually takes about 2 gallons of water to do this. On a flat stone like that, might be less. We're gonna show you, there's a stone back there, pretty interesting story. It's bad shape. I'll let somebody decide who wants to clean that one, but he was Purple Heart in World War I. So if you study the Lost Battalion of World War I, it was just before the end of the war in October of 1918, and they were advancing, and one of the regiments got a little bit ahead of the right and the left. They got surrounded by the enemy, and they fought really hard to get those men back, the ones that did. About half of them got killed in the process, and maybe that's where he got his Purple Heart, I don't know. But the way they communicated was with carrier pigeons. They would send carrier pigeons out. Talk about some faith. Carrier pigeon would go out. The coordinates were wrong. They started getting bombed by our guys. They sent another carrier pigeon. They read the note and it said, "You got the coordinates wrong, please stop." Carrier pigeons. History that you're going to find in these cemeteries by researching these stones is so incredible. I hope you enjoy that part of the process. Yes?
How do you do that research? Go.
So there's a website called Ancestry.com, and that's where a lot of people do their DNA testing. They build their family trees, and Ancestry has purchased a website called Fold3.com. It's where all of our military records of our veterans that are held at the National Archives have been digitized and placed on Fold3.com. Super easy. You buy a subscription, you get access to Ancestry, Fold3, Newspapers.com. They also own that, and they also own findagrave.com. So between those 4 websites, you just look through. Like, I found his application for his headstone. I know that's how I know that it was 4 years and 4 months before he came home, because there was a newspaper article with his obituary stating that he was being buried 4 years, 4 months later, and the headstone application coincided with that. First Marine, just study the First Marine, and in World War II, look at that date, type in 1944, for example, Peleliu pops up. And then you look at the dates that Peleliu happened. September 15th, they thought it would take 4 days. It took them 2 months to take over that island. It was that bad. And then you look at the date of his death as the same date that battle started. That's how we know he was killed during the amphibious assault of the beaches of Peleliu. Don't know if he was killed on his landing craft going across the coral reef. We don't know if he drowned on his way in. We don't know that if he was shot on the beach. We don't know if he fought inland. They had to. They bombarded that island. Ordnance, you can't even comprehend how much they bombed it. Didn't hurt any of the Japanese defenses. They were in bomb bunkers. They were ready for them. As soon as those landing craft started coming in, the enemy got up in their positions. It was really bad. So that's how I learned about them, is studying. And then I just remember I had read about Peleliu. That's where I learned about the Medal of Honors. And I was just touched by the fact that 5 out of 8 threw themselves on grenades. And it just hit me last night that, wait a minute, I think that was Peleliu. So I looked that up on Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a nice site for that. And again, we try not to walk on graves, but sometimes when you're doing cleaning, you really don't have a choice. This is just water here. Yeah, these bristles do pretty good inside the letters as well. But you can see, I mean, it's not going to be perfect today, but this product will continue to brighten and whiten this stone over time. So we'll get the bulk of this biological growth off, but this stuff grows down into the nooks and crannies of microscopic pores of this stone. So it takes a while for all those roots of those little organisms to die and be taken away by nature. You can, because there's two methods. On the back of the product, there's 2 applications. One is you wet the stone with water, you apply the D2, you wait 10 minutes, you scrub it, rinse it, and walk away. It's not necessary to put another coat. But another option is just to wet the stone with water, to soak it up, hit it with the D2, and you walk away. So if you want to, it won't hurt anything, because that's what the product label says. Okay. Yep. And in some cases, the stone's been neglected for so long that an extra coat would be good. But these stones, if you maintain them properly, they'll look new for a long time. But when they get neglected like this, they may have stains that you just can't get out. And so you just do the best you can with what we've got, and then hopefully, you know, we just lost 13 Americans in Afghanistan, if everybody remembers that recently. And we all say, we'll never forget, we'll never forget. But they probably said the same thing when this man came home, you know. So 50 years from now, hopefully those 13 Americans will have pristine headstones if we do this right. If somebody takes ownership of those stones, so when the family can't do it, somebody else will do it. So he's looking a lot better already. And the brushes will get filled with really nasty stuff, so you can rinse those every now and then. His sister might still live in the area, but she's going to be getting up there in years. So I don't know for sure if she still lives in the area, but that's probably why this stone isn't in so bad a shape, as his sister may have still been cleaning it from time to time. Barker Bus Company, huh? Yeah, so I'm excited that maybe there'll be a Walter Barker Avenue or something in town. And so that's all it takes to clean up these stones.
Now, what the dark that's left, does that need to be cleaned too? Is that growth too, or?
Yeah, what's left on the stone on the surface right now, that's just staining and
Well, I mean,
the etchings.
in the letters.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that with a toothbrush.
Oh, okay, and so that will come out too.
Yeah, but that's the tedious work that'll take about 20 minutes to do. So
I didn't know if you had to do that at all. Or not.
you don't have to, but it's just something I like to do while I'm here to pay my respects, get them cleaned up, and make it look as nice as I can. So any other questions before we let some folks clean some headstones, if you'd like? Thanks everybody for coming out and being a part of this. Again, Hunterdon County, New Jersey, the only county in the United States of America that's responded to this cause in 2 years. 3 million views on the internet and growing. So I hope that other counties and cities and states and the federal government will begin to participate in this movement to get our veteran headstones clean and respectable by Memorial Day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We can promote your YouTube video on our social network.
Thank you.